80? No?
We've got
60?
56 families.
Oh, that's good. I'll take it. Right, Melinda?
I've brought 2 new ones this week. Well,
I
this
know.
week, but recently.
Thank you for that. We'll give folks another minute, and then whoever comes, they just have to play catch up.
Hi, Heather. Heather's my favorite. Sorry, guys. She's my favorite. She is. I love my Heather. My boys always say, we miss Heather.
Aw.
Miss Heather.
I
Aw,
love
that makes
Heather, but I gotta say, Kylie's the new favorite. I'm so sorry.
I have competition.
So sorry.
Who's
It's all
my
right,
new
I'll have it
Heather?
work out.
My new Heather is Morgan, right? I think it's Morgan.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm just happy to hear you have a new favorite. That means that we're doing something right, that we're hiring well. Otherwise, you'd still be moaning who you lost. You wouldn't be talking about a new favorite.
Oh yeah, we were in that space for a long time until Kylie came.
I've heard those spaces. So yeah, I'm real happy to hear this. Well, listen, guys, we're 5 minutes in. I don't want to keep anyone over this hour because this is Thanksgiving. And I see on this call, we have a lot of women, and I am going to be very gender inappropriate and assume that most of you have a lot to do. Even though your husbands are doing something too, mine did too, I still have more to do. So
What husband? Get me a husband. And that's
I'm
on the
gonna find you
recording.
one. I'll find you one. I'm good at that. I find people husbands all the time.
Matchmaker,
Pull
matchmaker,
'em out.
make me a match.
I will try, baby. I will try. I have been, I've been kind of good at that in the past. But anyway,
Okay.
we're on tape. I forgot about that, but let's move on to the real important things here. We are having this meeting because we have had some, first, let me just say happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Let me start there. Happy Thanksgiving. And the reason we're having this meeting now, and you might be saying, why did they pick now? This is the week of Thanksgiving, are they serious? But the reason we did it is because there are some major changes coming for our business. We have been funded through Medicaid and through a per diem with the county forever. But the way Medicaid did it was they did not allow us to use the appropriate codes. And so that was always a little bit of a red herring with us. We always were hearing you're not funded correctly, and we were always a little concerned that that would somehow come back to haunt us. And so we kept working with the county, kept working with the state, and we developed a model called a model for billing that is called the SPA, State Planned Amendment. And this state planned amendment is something we've been working with all of these entities on for a while. It was supposed to start in September, then it was supposed to start in October, and then it was supposed to start in November, and here we are, and it's going to start December 1st. And so this time, it really appears that they're going to start December 1st. And we did not want to delay sharing this information with you guys. We wanted to make it at least available to you before December 1st. So that's the reason that we're having this town hall at this time. And it will take the place of our regular town hall meeting that we have this month. We're going to talk about the SPA. Heather's going to share information with you about what that means for you and how it's going to impact the documentation that you do. But what I want to say to you is it does not change our work. What we do, how we do it, all of that remains the same, but it is an issue of documentation and billing. So there will be more differences on our side of the fence, a little bit of difference in terms of how you guys document, and Heather will share that with you. Let's see. I think that's about it. I have on the call, just in case you haven't seen, we've got Anya, Melinda, myself, Heather, Christy, or is Chris? I didn't see Christy, and Kylie are all here so that we can share with you what we're going to be doing in terms of the SPA. So Heather, and then after we talk about it, we'll talk a little bit about resources that we have available to help you manage the children that we put in your care, if time allows. So with that, I'll give it to Heather, and Heather, take it away.
All right, here's our people that Valerie already. Let's see. It's not letting.
Uh-oh.
I've never worked with Canva before in slideshows. Oh, there's Christine, Drea, me, and Kylie. Those are your people. Okay, so like she said, it was called a state plan amendment, but we're going to try to refer to it as 1915 I-Services because spa sounds like a lovely day with cucumbers over our eyes. So I feel like 1915 I-Services kind of like should hopefully be clear. The work that you are doing isn't really going to change, right? You guys already do intensive parenting. You already document it in the form of BST. This was just developed because BST really wasn't the fit for our programs. So they specifically developed new codes that are just used by treatment foster care agencies. They're specific to us. And so the language is changing, but really the delivery isn't changing all that much. So let me see on the next slide. So our old process was BST, right? That's going to be replaced by what's called intensive in-home services. There's intensive in-home services with coaching and without coaching. So without coaching is you guys, because you are going to do it on your own independently with your child. With coaching is going to be with your case coordinator. That's the code they're going to be billing. Not that you really need to know that, but just so you have an idea of how it's all working. So the main points are that it's done by you guys. It's going to be the same time frames, 2 hours a day, 7 days a week. It includes the same things that you're doing now: skill building, TFTC interventions, building positive social behavior, you know, all the things that you're doing now. So the work, like I said, that you're doing isn't really going to change. Let's see. Why is it doing that? Canva is not cool, just so we know, just so we're clear on that. Can you still see that?
Yeah.
Okay. Did I miss something? Yes. Okay. So the process behind the scenes is going to change a little, and you're going to be hearing some words maybe that you haven't heard before. Our old process, we determined higher level of care or HLOC status a different way. There's now an eligibility checklist that we're going to be collecting. You won't need to really know the details of that, but just so you know, there is an eligibility checklist that, you know, our kids do have to qualify, which all of the kids we currently have are already qualify. So don't even worry about the kiddos you already have. So these are our old services. We talked a little bit about BST, PSR. We're not going to really be doing PSR for kids who are in treatment foster care, and therapy is going to remain the same. So like I said, there's intensive in-home services with coaching and without coaching. And then the new term for PSR basically is crisis stabilization. So it really is the same thing. We know our kids are constantly in crisis. We know that they need stabilizing pretty much all the time. So really any past, present, future crisis that a kid is going through, and that doesn't have to mean a big crisis in the way that we might think about it. Their little brains are going through crises all the time. So anything they need to process, anything they need to work through, anything you need help with, that's what crisis stabilization is there for. The nice part about this is that not all of our kids were approved for PSR in the past. Medicaid dictated a lot of, you know, whether our kids were eligible or not, or whether they needed it or not, or how much they needed. So the nice part about crisis stabilization is that all of our kids will be approved once they're eligible, and they have plenty of hours. they all have a cap, a maximum amount of hours that we will probably never exceed. But if you have a kid who's going through a really tough time and you need, multiple people to come out multiple times in a week for a period of time because things are going a little haywire, we have that opportunity to do that. So it is a little bit more flexible, which is nice. So our kids will hopefully get a little bit more of what they need versus Medicaid deciding what they need. Once they qualify, they qualify. And again, so those services, the intensive in-home services and the crisis stabilization has to be provided by SAFY. Therapy, if it is best for the child to remain with their therapist, they can still remain with an outside therapist if that is what is best for them. The other term that you'll hear is this plan of care, or POC. So that will be a new thing that we will be doing. I mean, we still have our treatment plans or our care plans that we've been doing that prescribe the treatment that you guys are doing and that we're doing. But the plan of care is sort of an overarching document that kind of just lays out the kids' needs and all the things that need to be addressed. And then you kind of address them a little bit at a time. And then our treatment plan will kind of delve in a little bit deeper for the specific work that you and our workers will be doing with the kids. I think that's all I have to share. Valerie, is that sufficient? Melinda?
I think Valerie got kicked off.
Oh, okay. Do I need to go into further detail?
No, I don't. I think that is good. I think the one thing to reiterate maybe is the coaching. With the coaching, it's the same stuff that your CCs or PSR workers should be doing with you now, which is explaining what they're doing in PSR and also kind of giving you ideas for interventions and helping you figure out ways to help the kids meet their goals. Here, Valerie's coming back in.
Yeah,
so that's
I do.
Like separate.
The coaching that we are supposed to do is supposed to be an hour a week for every child in our care. We know that if you have multiple kids in your home, that might be a little bit of a challenge. So, we're not going to make you sit with us for 4 hours if you have 4 kiddos and just specifically talk to us. But the nice part about this new coaching code is we were sort of having to fit our time with you into PSR, which we felt okay about because PSR is a family-based service and it is about teaching parents what they need to know about, these kiddos and how to help them. But with this coaching code, the child does not have to be present. So we can engage with you anytime about your parenting, about what you want to talk to us about, questions you want to ask us, ideas you want to ask us, if you want to vent and talk about how hard it's been with your child, that you have that time as sort of like your time. And we really want to encourage parents to really engage with us instead of us just doing work with kids outside of your home or without you. So our big ask is, hey, I know you're busy. We know you guys have tons of stuff going on, but if you can meet with us weekly to at least do 1 hour of coaching every week, that's what we would like to do. And it can be more flexible if you can meet in the morning because that works better for you. And then, the worker can see your kiddos later. That should be fine. We're going to work it out on a case-by-case basis, but we're asking that parents really commit to engaging with us in that because we do know that it helps. And I think Jenny, Ishana, like you can attest to when you're meeting with your case coordinator and or your PSR worker weekly, it helps you continue to do this hard work. So that's why, we want you guys to be supported and we want your kids to be as stable as they can be. So that's the goal.
Can we ask questions?
Sure.
So this starts on December 1st, and we're going to get intensive home services with and without coaching, crisis stabilization, and therapy if we qualify for all of that, right? And like you said, we
all of
will?
our kids, all of
Okay.
our kids will qualify for those things. Therapy is still the same as it was before. We still have to request it, but they pretty freely give out therapy. So that's not usually an issue. But once they're in our program and once we have their eligibility checklist and we know that, and we already know that all of our kids that are already with us will qualify, they will automatically get a whole year to receive these services. And then they have to requalify. But again, most likely they will, if they're still with us, because,
Okay.
you know, there's the need, you know, their
Okay,
needs are still there.
so even though my kiddo got denied for PSR, you're saying for crisis stabilization, he'll get approved. And what are we calling that? He's getting CS? Like
I know.
what are we calling it? PSR 2? What are you calling it?
1915. I know, we thought about that. We were like, CS sounds kind of weird, but I guess we'll get used to
CSM,
it.
crisis stabilization, mental health. CSMH, CSM, I don't know.
PSR
1915.
sounded really weird when we started that too. So
Oh,
maybe
PSR sounds cool.
we'll just start saying CS and it'll
Or
start.
you could say CSI. Isn't there a show called CSI? We can call it CSI. Nobody knows what we're talking about. Cool.
That might
so
work because our PSR workers are changing their names. So they're going to be intervention specialists.
FBI people. Yeah. So when does CSI, for lack of a better term, start? Does it start in December? Does it start at the beginning of the new year? And is that something like
Where
they'll
it's a
get
little
somebody
bit,
to work with them?
it's a little bit, it's going to be a little bit of a transition period because all
Okay.
of our kids have PARs right now and they all start on different dates. So as their
Okay.
PARs come due, we're going to gradually shift everybody over, but we'll let you know. You know,
Okay.
you're going to shift in your portal also. The language is going to start to
Oh,
look different. But really, you're not going to have to do anything different. When you go in and create your services like you always do, it's going to be the same exact process. The wording's just going to change.
okay.
So,
And
but
then
yeah,
the with coaching is you guys. The
yeah,
without coaching is us.
yeah.
Okay. And are we calling that, are you guys going to be shifting the language from BST to, I don't know, IHS or whatever?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And are you guys doing some kind of training on this besides this? Like, are you going to send an email out, or are you going to require foster parents to do something like this and do a training?
I know they were going to send it out in multiple mediums. I know it was going to be in the
Okay.
newsletter, an email, probably even snail mail.
Okay.
I'm not sure if Valerie, Melinda, I don't know if you guys had a plan to like have people attend a more interactive thing or not.
They'll have access to this recording. So we're going to ask that everybody watch the recording and then we'll, like you said, send it out via newsletter through their CCs. I imagine that a lot of CCs will be doing on-the-job training in terms of educating their families what this looks like and what the changes they should expect. So it'll definitely be a couple months of growing pains. You know, I think from December to February, we'll see a lot of confusion, and that's okay. We're fine with being a little confused as we work out the kinks. So, but for foster parents, really, it should look very similar. So you shouldn't see too many things change in terms of the way you do your notes in the portal will look the exact same. It'll just have different keywords changed in it, but it should present to you the same way. The only thing that might change for some families is the amount of time you spend with your worker, because maybe your worker is actively trying to see you for the coaching time, and so that time might increase in some homes. And then, of course, like for you, Shauna, when you said crisis stabilization, your kids weren't getting PSR, so now they have the opportunity to get crisis stabilization. Right. Does that mean we add a worker to your home? Does that mean that Morgan does some time with them? It'll all sort of depend on our staffing patterns and the number of kids who need the crisis stabilization and things like that. So we'll kind of be going at it. And Kylie is our PSR lead, and so she will be managing those, you know, hours and time with our staff.
So I have a question. With the eligibility checklist, are there any specific diagnoses that exclude children, or any specific circumstance, age, anything like that, that automatically exclude them?
No, that was sort of the benefit of this. And that's what we kind of explained to them was, you know, our kiddos with autism and intellectual disabilities and things like that. We wanted that to be included. It's like they need foster placements too, and they need the same type of parents, right? With extra skills and extra knowledge and, you know, being able to give them more. So at first they accidentally wrote that language in there, and I was like, wait. The whole point of this was so that we could, you know, take any kid who needs a higher level of support. So I mean, I know that the DSM doesn't do Access One anymore, but really any of those like standard mental health diagnoses, those F codes are accepted. There's nothing that's.
So this really opens up the type of placements that we can take now, being an HLOC home.
Well, you can't take a kid who has autism as their only diagnosis. It has to be in correlation with another mental health diagnosis. So it will still stay pretty close. But in the past, one of the qualifications was their CASI score. And I don't know how familiar you are with that scoring assessment, but it used to be that only kids level 4s and above could qualify for our service. And now it's any kid level 1 and above. So essentially, if you're alive, that's you qualify, right? And so that's really awesome. So that's changed the you know, how high of behavioral needs you're seeing. If you have a diagnosis and you're at risk of placement disruption and you are breathing and have a pulse, you qualify. So that's pretty cool.
That is really, really cool. And then the other thing that I had to say is now I don't have to feel bad for hijacking Kylie's time after PSR or after any kind of situation that I have her. I'm like, oh, now that you're mine, let me steal this computer because I need you and I need to dump on you. And so I really, really, really like that that's a thing now.
Yeah, it's specific to just helping you guys, which is really cool. And like the best part, like you said, is the kid doesn't have to be present, so we can talk openly and candidly and just kind of help you through those issues and still be able to bill for it. So cool. Anything else?
I think that, well, will you do slides or something kind of walking us through how to do not BSTs anymore when we have like the recording or something?
It's going to look exactly the same. It's
Okay.
just be a language change, really. So you're going to still be going in there, picking, you know, your goals in the day and adding, you know, adding progress or how, you know, circling or whatever you're choosing. It's going to be exactly the same.
Okay.
When we say a language change, it will be the words we use to describe in a lot of the basic skills goals. It says, you know, some basic skills terminology that we've used over the years. And now in, you know, this intensive in-home service is using some slightly different language to describe the service that you're providing. So we have to change those out. So you'll see intensive in-home instead of basic skills. That's really the major focus.
For a while, you'll see both of them. So it'll say, right now it says BST, social skills, and then it says IIHS, intensive in-home services. It's just like a really long title. That's what pulls it into the portal for you guys. And then eventually we'll get rid of the BST word and you'll just have IIHS. But all your kids' goals are almost identical. We're not changing anything. We're just adding a new coaching goal on their treatment plan and changing that title from BST to intensive in-home.
Okay, so moving forward, when we take new placement, we're not going to like automatically assume that the kids are going to have PSR, but we will have as parents coaching. And then if there's any like increased issues or situations in the home, we'll have crisis stabilization on top of our coaching. Is that what it's going to look like long-term new kiddos type situation?
Kind of want to assign crisis stabilization workers if there's availability and there's a need. If the kiddo is sort of hard right out the gate and has a lot of things going on, and it's, you know, going to be like, you know, a challenge for you to manage, we kind of are hoping that we can, if we have the staffing for it, give you 2 workers right away. That would be the goal, because that is sort of what has been difficult, is that we have to get the assessment and make sure the PAR is submitted. And that's like a, you know, 20 to 30 day process. And then finally, we might get approval a week or so after that. By that time, you've already had the kid, you know, 30 to 45 days, and you might have already been struggling all this time. So we're sort of hoping that we can do a little bit quicker of that extra support. But we will have to kind of troubleshoot that and figure that out as we go.
And when we're talking about crisis stabilization, and let's say it's a perfect world and we have, you know, our case coordinator, we have our coach, is that what we're calling them? And we have our crisis stabilization worker, in addition to all of that, about how many hours, like say I just had the most difficult child, was a runner, was constantly causing like issues in the home, and we needed that support. In addition, what are those timeframes looking like? Or do we have any idea?
We have the ability to provide up to 10 hours a week, but that's a ton. That's not going to be the likely scenario. But if you do have a kiddo who, you know, and this will also help with on-call situations also, because any worker can come out and bill that crisis stabilization code when things are happening at any hour of the day or night. So that will be helpful too. I don't know if I'm not sure if I was clear on what you were saying, but your coaching code is done by your case coordinator. So you're not having to coach in addition to your case coordinator, but it can be also your crisis stabilization worker. Like for you, you said Kylie's really helpful for you. Either worker technically can bill a coaching code. It's just limited to 1 hour per kid per week. So, you know, it would be for your 2 kids, 1 hour for one, 1 hour for the other, if you needed it. And then on top of that, the crisis stabilization for the kids.
That makes me feel a lot better about utilizing services, because I've had kiddos that have been in full-blown crisis and their workers have been coming, like literally they go to a class at CSN, come to my house, and they're here for an hour, and then they go back to class, and then they come back to my house before they go home to their kids. Like, it's been, you know, a situation, but they're making it work the best that they can with the time that they have. So it's nice to have somebody that's dedicated to those moments. I mean, in theory, and moving forward, you know, when we're really like in full blown.
Wider access to using those, those codes. So yes, call us when you have a crisis, for sure. Always.
Always have. Now I just don't feel bad about it.
Well, good. You shouldn't.
Jenny, I am sad to hear that you're feeling guilt about that, because we've always known that we have to work with foster parents in order for them to work with the kids. Like we have always known that we can't, we have to support you. We have to do with you what we want you to do with the kids. So supervisors do with our staff what we want them to do with you, so that you can do that with the kids, right? It's all about relationship and regulation and, you know, working our model that way. So I'm sorry that you felt like you shouldn't be using that time, because it is there for you.
No, and I don't, but I also recognize that like the times that we're in crisis, like our workers have kids that are at home too, you know, or they have lives that they're supposed to be living. And never once, I think the reason I feel bad is never once have I ever been told, you know, I'm busy, or I have a class to get to, or I have a kid to pick up. They've always just shown up every time. Like they've always been there. And if you could hear me like outside of SAFY things, I'm always the first one. Like, I don't know how you guys do it without SAFY. I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine being in half the situations that I've been in and not had the workers that I've had, because they've always shown up. Like, always. Whenever it's been my like hardest moments, whenever I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to make it through this, like, my workers have always shown up. So I feel bad, but I still use them because I know I need them.
Yep.
Well,
Good.
we're also glad to hear that because we want to be there. That's our goal. Anything else in regards to this? Is Valerie back?
This one's me.
Oh, okay. There you go, Anya.
Thanks. Valerie asked that we talk a little bit about the types of kids that we're seeing come through Child Haven in general. We know that SAFY only takes a small portion of kids that ever walk through Child Haven, but it is important to kind of look at the differences and look at what population we're serving. So this is just a snapshot from a day in the life of Child Haven. It happened, I guess, last week is when they pulled these numbers together. So as you can see, the male to female ratio is pretty close. I would guess that would tip back and forth throughout the days. Race, we have African Americans at 39% with 21 kids, Caucasian 19, multiracial 12, and Asian Pacific Islander 2. So we're getting a mix of all different types of kids. And then their ages. This is an important piece. We're seeing a lot of kids in that 6 to 12 range, but we also know that that 13 to 17 range is a really highly needed area. I know there were only 9 kids at Child Haven that day, but we've seen upwards of 20 at any given time on campus, which is a lot of teenagers to have in one space at any given time. So right now, I think our count for teenagers in care, of the 85 kids that we have in care, about 20 of them are teenagers right now. And so we're always looking for families who are interested in taking teens, who are interested in taking that older adolescent, because we feel like they just are really have a difficult time stabilizing sometimes, and they run around a lot, and we need people who will be their stable base, and we know that at SAFY we can do that for them. So that's the age range we're really looking for at this time. And then I know we always have sibling groups that we're trying to place too, but that's that's a little bit harder, because if you don't have the space, you don't have the space. Any questions or thoughts about that? Okay, we'll keep going. So I think that these are all the SAFY supportive services that we have, and I think there might be a slide for every single one of them. And so mine might be up first for foster parent mentoring. Yep, here we go. Okay, so we just started a foster parent mentoring program. It's we identified 4 families that we thought could be great mentors to new incoming families. And we chose them either because of experiences they had gone through, and we saw that they were able to handle them well as a new family, or they have shown us that they're able to be good communicators with other families, or whatever. There could be all sorts of different things. And we tried to start really small, so we know we have lots of mentors within our program, but for whatever reason we came up with these 4 that we wanted to start with, and we paired them up with 4 brand new families. We're hoping to make that a little bit larger. We're hoping to pull some more families into that mentoring program. It just consists of just really communication. We want new families to feel comfortable talking to our existing families about things that are happening in their homes. Sometimes, there's just stuff you want to vent about, or there's just stuff you need help with, and you can't get a hold of anybody right that second, and you want to talk to somebody, or maybe you just want to feel like somebody understands what you're going through as a fellow parent. And so we're looking for people who are interested in doing that to help other families who are coming through. I know it started pretty slow. I believe Ishana is one of our mentors right now at this point, and she's having a hard time getting a hold of her mentee. And so I expected that. And
I
so
didn't
think
expect that. I really thought they would be jumping
jump
for
onto you.
joy at the help, or like Heather said earlier, just to vent. Because if I had somebody when I was new, boy, I wouldn't have bent poor Heather's ear. I probably would have bent their ear. But yeah, I mean, they seemed super, super busy. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm here and I can only make myself available.
Yeah, and we've done some brainstorming around ways to maybe connect our mentor and mentees together a little bit. Maybe we need to do in-person, meet and greets to kind of put a face to a
Yeah.
name so they don't feel so awkward about reaching out. So we're still working on some of those things, but we wanted you guys to know that we're initiating this process and we're interested in supporting families in this way, and we're hopeful that it'll work out. So we're going to keep pushing along. We'll get there.
So I've kind of I missed that email. Let me just start there. I missed the email about the mentor program until it was way too late. Yes. But I've on the side taken on 2 families that are now becoming SAFY families, because we've been talking about just all of the things that happened in the home and what little support they had. And I would hope that one of them would jump on right now. But there are 2 families that, we've been talking to on a daily basis. And for us, what that looks like is a Facebook chat. And it's really the 3 of us in there. And it's 2 new families and me. And it's things like they were never taught what a PSR is. They were never taught proper med management. They were never taught who to reach out to when they're in certain situations, certain things they can do, certain things they can't do. The fact that oftentimes DFS, different workers, will direct you to do things that are almost exactly against the rules because they maybe just don't know better themselves. And so I think for a few months now we've been in contact, but over the last month, maybe month and a half, it's been on a daily basis, just back and forth, what's going on in their home, how I've handled situations like that, how they're handling situations, and they're pretty awesome. But I have to say, I found them because I'm in another group and they were newly licensed and they just kept reaching out for different, situations. It was just kind of luck that we found them. But just mentioning the support that I have through SAFY and how those different scenarios go down, both of them, after being licensed, have now started the process to relicense with SAFY. It's that big of a deal to be a SAFY family. You guys just make this so different, just so incredibly different. And it's so obvious when you're talking to people who were trained through DFS versus people who were trained through SAFY. So you guys are doing an outstanding job, I would say.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that. I know I see Sierra on the call, so I'm glad, and I'm glad she's here, and I hope she's hearing everything that we have to offer, so she'll continue to move through the process. But yeah, Jenny, you're amazing. Thank you for referring families. I mean, that's one of our biggest ways of finding families to be a SAFY family is by parent referral. So it's you guys out in the community talking about what you're receiving and how the success you're feeling with kids and placements, and wanting, to share that with other people. People are really interested in hearing about that. And so that's how we get a lot of our new families. So that's really awesome. Thank you.
It's the biggest thing is this though, you encourage us to talk about it and you encourage us to get into the nitty gritty with other families, in an appropriate degree, where DFS is no, you're not allowed to. You need to reach out to your people, but don't reach out too much. Don't be that close with them. Don't talk about those things, just talk about, regular parenting things, not foster things. And they're really they're weird about it. They're weird about everything.
They can be, yeah. I mean, and I think, when you're doing something so hard like fostering children, you need your community. As a biological parent, you have the added benefit of having your you know, your friends and your family all going through those same experiences with you. But as a foster parent, you experience so many things that are different and new, and things that people can't really understand and feel with. And so to be able to have a network of people who can, you know, understand those same experiences is really, really helpful. So we wish that people would spend more time together as SAFY families. And I think we've seen, as the quarantine has lifted, we're seeing a real decrease in the amount of face-to-face or that people are wanting to do now. It's kind of like everybody's crawling out of their shells and not really sure if they're really wanting to come do things. So we've been having a lot of training events and opportunities at the office, trying to get people to come back and see each other, and everybody's really timid. So we're hoping in 2022 we see something, you know, a little bit more action. So we'll be doing some events and activities to try to bring people together more. All right, Heather, do you want to skip to the next one? Okay, I think I am doing this one too. So SAFY has received a couple of grants through some different programs. I think one is through MGM and the other one was through In and Out. So we've received some grants to provide independent living services to the teen youth in our care. And so Whitney McClure is our direct service coordinator for that. So she oversees all of the independent living programs and services that we offer. So she does at least a monthly activity for all of our youth that are teen aged, and she'll put that together and have staff come or have kids come together, and they do these fun activities that are experiential in nature, so that their teens are trying to learn how to navigate the bus system, or they're trying to learn how to do a job interview, or how to cook a basic meal, things like that. So she is pulling things together so that they can have those experiences hands-on and really understand what's going on. She also facilitates our sex ed program. And so we have an upcoming sex education program when school gets out, so kids can come during the school day, or, you know, during the day, and attend those. That's for anybody 13 and up. We used to do that through Southern Nevada Health District, but that grant that grant ended, but we felt so strongly about the sex education being a priority for kids in independent living age that we continue to provide that. We are continuing to provide that service because we're just not willing to let it go, right? We just feel like that's such a pivotal and important topic for kids to be aware of. You would not believe the things that kids say about what they think they know about sex and relationships and consent and all of those important topics. And so it's really a great learning opportunity for them. We also do like I don't know if this is on the next slide, but we do a men's group through Whitney. So, oh, there it is, men's night out. So a couple weeks ago, we had a men's night out where they went to dinner and bowling, and it looks like maybe they went somewhere with helmets. I don't know where that was. But we have a group of foster dads and people in the community who are really excited about helping support the men in the young boys in our foster community. And so they've been getting together and planning events and activities for our boys to attend. And I think that we've maybe had 1 or 2 events so far. And so Whitney has been pulling those together. So be on the lookout for those kinds of activities too for any of the boys in your homes. We'd love to have them involved. And I don't think that there's an age restriction on the boys' night out, the men's night out program. Oh, Valerie can't talk, but she on her call, because she's on the telephone, but she said the next men's event is 12/14. So it's coming up the week of that school gets out. Okay, Drea's not here either. She's driving to California tonight, so I'm going to cover yoga too. I'm the chatty one today. Okay, so we've been doing yoga every Wednesdays at the office across the street from our office. So we've partnered with a yoga studio who is all kinds of wonderful. They send out an amazing yoga instructor who works with the kids and does really trauma-focused yoga activities for them. And they've just really, the kids who come really enjoy it. And so we encourage all of our kids to come and attend that. All kids can come, any age. if they need their worker to come with them, I'm sure that their workers would be interested. There's always at least 2 or 3 staff members that end up attending as well. So they, you can drop them off if you want. You can come in and do yoga if you want, whatever you want to do. So we're excited to keep that partnership, and we're hoping that it continues. Some weeks we don't have hardly any participation. So we really want people to know that this is out there and available so that they'll utilize it, because we think the kids just come out and they just have had a great time. And it's really, we think that that's a really important piece to their healing, is to be able to connect their body and their internal feelings together with those movements, so that they can learn how to decompress and how to stay calm when they need to. Melinda, do you have any thoughts on that? I know well, it's your turn anyway. You can switch over.
I do have thoughts on it. Miss Nina is the yoga instructor, and like Anya was saying, she does such great things. It's not just moving their bodies. It's like she does imagery and like helping them express themselves. I mean, it's just really super cool. Even if you can't do yoga, like somebody I know that's right here, me. It's really good. It's really cool. And then Valerie texted us, and she said that that men's night out, because Valerie's on mute, she can't get off. She said on that men's night out, it's for boys 12 and up. So I know we weren't sure about that age, but that's what it is. Parenting on Purpose. Caitlin named it for us, the POP group, which is super cute. About 6 or 8 months ago, a couple of adult clients came to me and they asked me to have a support group for them. They are parents who have experienced adverse childhood events themselves, and they're trying to parent children who have experienced adversity in childhood. And so this group is a support / psychoeducation group on helping parents identify their own triggers, their own informal support groups, trying to help them identify how to regulate themselves, relate to their kids, and then respond to their needs, which is the purposeful part, kind of staying in relationship with their children that they're parenting. All kinds of parents come from the community. It can be parents with biological kids that they're struggling with the kids' behaviors, or it can be foster adoptive parents. We are in between cohorts right now, but over the course of the next year, we're going to have 5 groups that last 6 weeks each. We eventually got grant funding for it, so they're free to anybody who wants to join. And when we start them again, the dates will go out. It's once a week here at the SAFY office for about an hour and a half.
And will there be an option to log on for those, or just in person only?
They're in person only, because just the nature and the content, we're talking about how important relationships are. So we're trying to get people to come and actually relate to each other. We can do it over telehealth, but we all already know each other, so it's a little bit easier. So for a group of strangers, we really want to get them involved. So we're trying to get people to come in person.
I have a coworker that really needs it, and I'm just trying to convince her. If we had a situation with a specific person, could we figure something out if they really need it? And just to convince them that they need to be there, maybe they can do like one online, and then like after that you have to show up or something.
Can I get back to you on that?
I was gonna say no answer needed. No answer needed.
Okay. But thank you for talking. It sounds like you've been talking about it, so I appreciate that a lot, because we really think it's great. So we just want to share it with people.
I tell everybody that they need to come and do the training for SAFY just to be an efficient parent, just period. We've been so traumatized growing up. I feel like, or at least the people I know, that like some of us are just trashing parenting and some of us are actively seeking help, and you're like, just where? And this is the first time I've seen a situation where you don't have to go there for like another reason to get help with your parenting.
Yeah. And this, I do want to point out too that this is not, you don't have to have like a capital T trauma to be part of this group. It can be a small t trauma. For example, my mom was a yeller, and especially when she was cleaning the house, you better watch out. And so for years when my kids were young, I screamed a lot at them and did some things that now I know better. But I couldn't stop myself. That was my template. So it's really about being purposeful and changing our templates so that we can help kids heal in our relationship with them.
So Melinda, if they are hesitant about committing or going, like Jenny said, can they just come to one and see how they like it and not like commit to the whole series? Maybe?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we won't come hunt them down and find them. Yep. Yeah.
Because, you know, even the little T trauma brings commitment issues. So
True. Very true. So they used to have, I don't know if you guys know Julie Harris, but she used to work at SAFY, and then she had a support group that is similar to this at Calvary Chapel. And this group of women went there consistently, and then Julie stopped doing it. And so some of these women were looking for something like that. So it's not faith-based by any means, but it is kind of a baby that was born from Julie's thing that she was doing.
Yeah, Julie was the foster ministry leader at my church, and I attended her group, and now I'm the fostering ministry leader. But the support group is not as strong because Julie was able to give all of us hours when we attended. So we would attend the group, and it was a structured curriculum. You know, we studied a specific book, and for the year we would discuss whatever the chapter was. Amazing group, very helpful. She did a lot of TBRI and, you know, Dr. Purvis and just variety of things. And as foster parents, we were able to ask questions and support each other. You know, a lot of things came out of that. We had a lot of new parents in our church. So now that Julie left, we're not really focusing that much on the support group. We're actually teaming up with another church, and we're developing a curriculum, and we're going to do a once a month curriculum for parents who need that. So there's a couple of churches in the community that do similar, I guess, to this. You know, it's like a group for parents. It's just so hard for all of us because we're so busy. So we try, you know, and we're going to see how next year goes.
well, and it's even harder for the parents who are looking for something that's not faith-based. This is it. Like, there is nothing else.
Yeah, this is going to sound a little strange, but one of the parents who came, she said, I just want to feel free to say the F word in this group. Like, I want to be like, okay to really let it out and not feel, you know, like there's a set of rules. That was her take on it. So you're right, Jenny. It's, you know, it not that the church's groups are not, but this particular woman just felt better not having the faith-based attachment to it. So Ishana, if you see anybody that's, you know, not able to get into those groups or wants to come to this, please let them know about it. We can also offer training hours because it is based on Dr. Bruce Perry's neurosequential model of therapeutics. And so that's the curriculum for this. It is right in line with TBRI stuff and Karen Purvis's stuff. So it's really similar.
Can you send that out in an email so that I can take that, you know, like as a flyer or something and send it to my group?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we don't have dates right.
Well, whenever you get dates, that would be good.
Yeah, for sure we will. Thank you. Okay, will you go to the next slide, please?
That's me. We're going to bring it back a little bit to PSR/crisis stabilization. As we've talked about, we have the ability to provide you guys more supportive services and for our kids more supportive services. So I just want to really harp on the importance of PSR and engaging in PSR and crisis stabilization, I guess CS or CSI, with your kids and your workers. And even though it can look like just playing games or they just go to the park or they just go to the store, whatever we're doing, it's helping our kids heal their brains from the bottom up. If you have questions about PSR, what it looks like for the kids, ask your workers. I really like to think of foster parents and workers as co-workers because we all work together. So please just check in with them, give them updates on their behaviors because we can't help you unless you help us, which then helps our kids. And as a foster parent, you're living with them. You know their behaviors better than anybody else. So we just want to help you. And all this to say, as your kids are assigned a PSR worker or crisis stabilization worker, it is a requirement. I don't want it to sound like, oh man, another person you have to meet with in the week. It doesn't even have to look like that. If the kid struggles with school pickup and he never wants to leave school or never wants to leave the park, your worker can meet them at the park and meet you later for drop off and have a quick 5-minute conversation. It doesn't have to be this big grand meeting. And kids need this additional supportive services to help their brains heal. All of our workers are under Melinda or Christine and are learning NMT and learning these training models. So we're all really educated and we all want to help you and help them stay regulated. And yeah.
I just want to pat Kylie on the back because she, like she said, it may just look like we're playing games, but Kylie was very strategic with one of her clients and it was video games, but that was the one thing that allowed that kid to talk. It's like when he was playing video games, his mouth was just pouring out stuff that Kylie could focus on and help him process and help him kind of engage and work on his social skills in a way that he could understand. If a kid is obsessed with video games, it doesn't necessarily mean we're giving in and just doing what they want because they're obsessed with it. It actually kind of opens the gateway to that communication. And so every one of our workers is so strategic in the way that they're doing things. And they don't just sit and talk about nothing. I think any of you who've engaged with your PSR workers know that they're not just doing nothing. So just to piggyback off what you said, but Kylie's the master at that. So.
Okay, Christy's name is on there, but I don't care. I'm going to talk about it anyway. Christy's not here. So Jenny, I know you've had a firsthand kind of bird's eye view into some of this stuff. Maybe one of your kids might have gotten the brain map, which is one of the things we've talked about. So for years, SAFY has been trauma informed in our treatment provisions, the treatment that we provide, meaning that we know there's an emotional need behind every behavior. We know that children's brains heal from trauma through consistent, loving, regulated relationships. So a lot of the stuff we've been doing for a very long time has all been in that direction. So Ashana, just like Karen Purvis's stuff, just like TBRI, we've been on board with that for some years. But then Christy got this little nugget about a model that Dr. Bruce Perry has developed. Dr. Bruce Perry is a neuroscientist, so he knows the brain science, and then he's also a clinician. So he's got the therapy and the doctor skills all in one. He is at the end of his career now, but he has treated children like from 9/11, the aftermath, children that lost people, or the Waco massacre that happened. He's been in I don't know if you guys remember the McMartin preschool stuff where everybody was on a witch hunt thinking kids were in sex cults and all of that kind of stuff. So he's really high profile. He's written The Boy That Was Raised as a Dog, and he just came out with a new book with Oprah Winfrey that is called What Happened to You. So he's been around a long time, but Christy just realized that he has this evidence-based therapeutic model, and she forced us to take a look at it. And evidence-based means that they have tried it with kids and kept statistics and records of it to show that the kids made a certain amount of progress. So it was like tested for efficiency and passed all the tests. So it's in the stages of being approved for evidence-based. They've submitted their application for it, but it's very close to being evidence-based, and it's going to pass. So Christy found it, and then she told Valerie, and Valerie ran with it to Ohio and asked Ohio to support the therapists here in getting trained, certified in NMT, neurosequential model of therapeutics. So it's a lot of the same stuff that you guys have already been doing, like regulating yourselves first, relating to your kids, responding to their needs instead of punishing, realizing that their behaviors have an emotion behind it, and that's what we're going to treat. You've already been doing that. So the NMT model has what's called a brain map, where we do a really thorough assessment of as much information as we can gather about a kid's start, like when their mother was pregnant with them, all the way to how they're functioning now, and including somatic symptoms that they're having in their bodies, like if they always have a tummy ache, or if they run hot, or their eating habits. It takes all of that and it compiles it into this database, and the database spits out something that is comparable to a neuropsych assessment. And what it does is it tells us exactly where their brain was, where an adverse event happened in their brain that disrupted normal brain development. So our brains develop from the bottom, from the brain stem, up to the top, to the thinking part. And so this brain map identifies exactly what got off track, and then it gives us recommendations, treatment recommendations, to go ahead and treat that where their brain is missing or disorganized in content. So for example, if they have a really hard time regulating themselves, or if they have a really hard time attaching and in relationship to people. So it gives us, it's like the interventions that we've done all along, but it's more specific based on the child. So there's 5 therapists that are getting certified in it right now. And then Christy pushed some more and got Valerie to stand behind us in getting the whole, our whole division, our Las Vegas SAFY division, trained in it. So she'll start the trainer training in January, and then we'll be able to certify the rest of our workers or train them in it, so that SAFY of Nevada will be a certified site. So I know some of you have heard this language already, but that's where we're going. We're really excited about it. I'm totally in love with Bruce Perry. He's the smartest man on the planet, and I don't care if he's old, he's really cute, and he has the best ideas. And it's all of the stuff that we already know, which I love. So like, for example, Ishana, TBRI is one of the recommended treatments. EMDR is one of the recommended treatments that the brain map would recommend for kids, depending on where they're at. So it's really cool, and we're excited about it. And too bad for Christy that she wasn't here to talk about it. I got to.
Question about that. Is that a service that is only going to be offered for foster youth? Is that something that you're going to offer to the community at some point? Because that would be something that I would be interested in doing for my biological daughter, who's been in a foster home as long as she's been alive. And so I'm seeing that, it's affected her in some ways. And a lot of the things that we see in our kids, I'm starting to see in her, because that's been her normal since she was an infant now, and she's 6.5. And so it's it hurts my heart that I'm starting to see a lot of the same things in her that I see in our kiddos.
That is great insight. And yes, we are already started looking for grants that can help us expand it to the community for training and for offering the brain map to whoever might need it and come up for a referral. We've started getting referrals already from different agencies like Raise the Future, which used to be Adoption Exchange. They've sent us some referrals for brain maps and consult kind of on it. But yes, Jenny, that's exactly what we're trying to do, is get funding for that, you know, despite a person's insurance or whatever, so that we could go ahead and do that.
Put us on the list. You can put us on the list, and we have insurance, or I'll pay for it or whatever. So as soon as you're taking people that are in foster youth, we're number one.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. I'm glad you guys are excited about the stuff we're excited about. It feels really good.
Oh, we drank the Kool-Aid like 100%. 100%. We are in for the long haul.
There's Kool-Aid?
I was just gonna say, I know Chris is around there somewhere. We're ignoring him because we can't readily see him, but we're talking to you too. So thank you.
He's listening to all of it and commenting in the background.
I'm holding on to my laundry I got to put away.
All right, guys, to wrap this up, there's one more service that we offer that is has been kind of revitalized this year, and that's our foster parent employee assistance program. So you might have heard this with your own employment. You have an employment assistance program where you can receive free sessions of therapy to work through some of the harder things that you're experiencing in life. And SAFY has decided to offer this service to foster parents as well. So you can easily access it using this phone number. I would guess that if you call the 1-800 number, which is our on-call number during the evening hours, but it's our Ohio office during the day. So if you called them and asked for the EAP line for foster parents, they could direct you to this phone number right away. Or you could ask any staff at SAFY and they should be able to track it down for you pretty easily. But it looks like you can get up to 3 visits with a licensed professional counselor. It would not be somebody at SAFY, so it would be outside of us. Or you can do some online stuff. So we want you guys to know that that's out there and available to you. And if you need it, please take advantage of it. All right, that's it. Do we have any questions or concerns? Want to get you out of here. I know we've kept you an hour and 10 minutes or so. So let us know if you have any outstanding things you want to ask. No from me, Shauna, no from Jenny. So, all right. Thank you guys so much for taking your time out this evening and sitting with us and listening through all of our lots of information. Please let us know if you guys have any questions. And this should be on our SAFY YouTube page in a couple of weeks. Caitlin will send out the link if you need to review any of the information that we've talked about today.
This was great, you guys. Thanks very much.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
Thank you, Sierra, for joining us.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.